Hello, Jacob here, with a Week 4 Minnesota Vikings preview. So without further ado, let's get into it. Week 4, the Minnesota Vikings go to Soldier Field and take on the Chicago Bears in a very, very critical NFC North showdown. For all of you keeping score at home, the Vikings aren't really all that great at Soldier Field. To be fair, there really isn't a lot of teams that are great at Soldier Field. Yeah, Soldier Field is just a tough place to play. However, though, it is kind of nice to play them early on in the year, so we don't have to worry about playing them in, December. Or, even the same thing with the Packers. It's always nice when you can get those hard road games like that out of the way early in the year and not have to worry about playing them when it's, December in the upper Midwest, which I don't know if you've been around the upper Midwest in December. It can be an absolute horror, but that's neither here nor there. The keys to the game. The first big key for me is how will Kubiak and Stefanski scheme Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and our offense against Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, and that defense. Yeah, the Vikings last year really didn't do that great of a job. I mean, their defense was, for the most part, having a pretty good day against us. Then again, our offensive line was also quite a bit worse than it is this year. I'm not saying our offensive line is, great, but it's definitely a lot better than it was last year. So I think for me, the key is going to be, can the Vikings get momentum and a rhythm going? And also how to attack that, for me, from what I've noticed, your best bet of really getting yardage is to try to hit them when they're in zone, or, just flat out hit them. Just come right at them and, try to, beat them, batter them, bruise them, and all that stuff. Because, the way that the Redskins were taking it to them for those couple of drives in yesterday's game was they were just going right after them. Not trying to scheme around them, not trying to do too much, just get the ball deep and hope for the best. Because really, outside of Fuller, Prince Amukamara really doesn't scare me that much. However, though, they do have very, very underrated safeties, and, Eddie Jackson being the main culprit there. And, of course, Khalil Mack. I don't know if you know this, but he's kind of good. So, yeah, if I were the Vikings, I would try to block him as much as possible. Or just run right at him. And with all that being said, Kirk, Cousins, again, try not to do too much. Give them, take what they'll give you. And eventually something will break. But just don't try to be Superman. And for the love of God, Vikings, if we can try to keep this as balanced as possible and keep from having, Kirk Cousins needing to throw 30, 40 times just to get us back into it, that would be much appreciated. But anyway. Yeah. So, with that said, number 2 is how will our defense look against Mitchell Trubisky, Scott Nagy, and the Bears' offense. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but the Bears have a pretty good offense when it gets going and running. They have some really good running backs, including a former Iowa State running back in David Montgomery, who was looking like he could potentially be their number 1 back for a very long time. And like I say, I've seen him run in Iowa State. This is nothing new. I mean, this guy is the real deal. So, it just sucks that we have to go against him twice a year. Tariq Cohen, we all know how dangerous he can be. Mitchell Trubisky can either look like Aaron Rodgers or Christian Ponder. There's not usually a whole lot of in between there. So, the key is, can we get pressure on him? Can we get to him? Can we rattle his cage? And can we stop that offense? And also, please, secondary, try not to hold or, give up dumb penalties, because that has cost us a few times. Granted, it really hasn't cost us a lot of the game. And also, can we not give up 21 points right away in the game and then, have to play catch-up? If you could show up for the full 60 minutes like you did against the Raiders and against the Falcons, that'd be much appreciated. Now, with that being said, special teams could be a very, 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 very critical part of this game. So, Dan Bailey, you might be called upon to win this game. Will you show up or will you choke? That's going to be the big thing there. However, I will say Dan Bailey's confidence could be a little bit higher, especially after he hit a 50-yard field goal last week. So maybe it's back, kind of getting back to him. And of course, Cole quit holding. That's nice, even though he really wasn't much of a holder, but he's been a punter for a long time. He's been around a lot of teams. He knows what to do. He knows what he needs to do when his name gets called. And also, try not to kick it to Cordero Patterson. I'm just saying. I mean, he may be a little bit older now, but as a Vikings fan, I know what he can do as a returner. So, if we can try to avoid, him at all costs, that'll be nice. And, of course, Tariq Cohen as well. So, yeah, with all that being said, if the Vikings can run it down their throat, if they can, slow down Trubisky and that vaunted offense, if they can win the time of possession, that's going to be huge because both teams love to run and runs, plays out of those, whether it be, like quarterback runs or like end arounds or just flat out with, brute force. So whoever can hold on to the ball the longest, I have a feeling is going to win this game. And whoever can tire out the other defense first will have a pretty good track at winning this game. And of course, it may, like I said before, come down to whose kicker comes in clutch at the end. Because these games tend to be close, as most of the NFC North Division games do. So, with all that being said, this has been my Week 4 preview, and this is Jacob signing out. Have a good day.